Hey there, I'm Felipe and I'm here to show you the 8th beta version of InForm for Cube64. Here's InForm's installer. I've already downloaded it from cube64.org/inform and I'm going to run it here right now. If you happen to already have InForm 7, beta 7 installed on your system, you're probably going to be prompted with a dialog offering to update it to beta 8. If not, we're going to go we're going to go from the start here. Do you wish to install? Yes, let's do it. And I'm going to skip through this as it downloads and then it compiles. Okay, skipping ahead here. We're now with everything done, setup complete. We're going to finish here. And the installer is going to offer to launch the designer, which we're going to do. Okay, so here's my Cube64 folder. I'm going to minimize it for now. We don't need it. And here's InForm's designer and the preview component. Both are running. As you drag the first, the second goes along, unless you come here to view and untick keep preview window attached. Then you can move them individually. The transparent feature is not on InForm. It's something I have installed on my computer. Okay, so let's go to what's new with InForm Beta 8. So the first thing I want to show you, this is a minor. I'm going to show you the small things first. Some controls, they have true or false values, like this one, for example, checkbox controls. They're either checked or not. Before beta 8 in InForm 7, up until InForm beta 7, you would have to enter -1 for true or 0 for false, which is the typical convention for true or false values in QBasic, in Cube64. And now I have here this list box, which allows you to choose between true or false. So that makes it a bit easier and a bit more intuitive to edit values. This also applies to toggle controls, which can be set to true or false. And also to radio buttons, which can also have the true-false property. And that's the first thing I want to point out. Next up, and this is really cool because it makes life really much easier with that. You would have to manually type font names if you wanted to load a different font in previous versions of InForm. Now you have here a list of system fonts. This works in Windows, Mac OS, and also Linux. For Windows, it looks in the system registry, and for the other platforms, it looks in the typical folders where fonts are stored. So here we have all system fonts registered in my Windows. And just to point out, I'm using Windows XP here because, you know, Cube64 works up from Windows XP up to Windows 10. And I'm using here this version because I like to write my code in the most basic version of Windows that is supported by Cube64 so that I don't hit any incompatibilities. If it works here, it usually works when I test on Windows 7, 10, etc. So have a look here. We can choose the font. Let me add a label here. Let me make it centered. And now have a look. I can choose between all fonts that are installed in my system. I have just a few here. Let's choose Impact. And I can also choose a new size here. Remember that font sizes in Cube64 are measured in pixels and not points. So here, let's see, 46. And there it goes. And you may also notice that the label is adjusting its width and its width and its height automatically. And this is a feature that was already available in beta 7. But now there is also a new Autosize property there that you can tick. And this doesn't only affect design time. It also works for runtime. If you choose to have this option property checked, you're going to have a label that adjusts automatically its width according to the text, to the caption that you will set to it. I don't know why you're going to use that, but I've been requested this. I remember Tempo DBasic requesting this in a very early version of InForm, and I noticed that Visual Basic does that too. I often look at requests and ideas I have my own and check if they are like real world things and if they can be used or they are popular or common. And this was one of them, and I finally implemented it now in beta 8. So I'm just going to show you a little demonstration here, I'm going to change the back color of this label to something more visible when against the background of the form. And I'm going to add a text box here just to make things a little bit more automatic. And I'm going to add a button here too. I don't need these controls here for now. Let me delete them. You see, I just right-clicked the selection here in my preview, and a menu on the editor was shown, because there is no space here in this form, and then InForm shows you, oh, here, the options you need are probably here, and they are. Let me go to edit here, delete. I could of course just hit delete on my keyboard, but anyway, what I want to show you now is the Autosize feature of this label. I'm going to save this form here now. So much to show. I'm going to show you anyway. Here we have the new save dialog. It's actually the old open dialog, but now it doubles as a save dialog. In previous versions of InForm, you would have to set the name of the form, which is this property right here, and InForm would take that name and save a .frm and a .base file. But now you finally are free to choose the file name you want. When you hit save here, you can choose a name. Let's say testing auto labels. Okay, it's been saved, export successful, exit to QB64, yes. So here we have the skeleton, the basic sketch of a program that InForm outputs for you. It has the controls you created here. The form file is actually included externally. This is it. And this is actually the library, which is InForm's backbone. I want to have that button I created. Whenever it's clicked, I'm going to make the caption of label 1 equal to the text that was input in text box 1. So every time I click that button, this is going to happen. I'm going to run this now to show you how the Autosize feature for labels work. Have a look. Creating my binary, my executable. Okay, here we are. Here's my label, my text box, and you're going to see that the background of that label is going to adjust as I enter different texts here, different lengths of text. So let's see, Felipe. When I hit the button, there it is. Let's see my full name. Oops, that's not what I wanted. This is it. My full foreign handle, Felipe Heitor. There it is. You notice that the background goes with it because the label is actually auto-sizing according to the contents. So this is a new feature of beta 8. I'm going to close this here. Okay, I'm going to create a ListBox control here, and in previous versions of InForm, you would have to use the list items property to add items if you wanted this list to be filled at start time. You can do that, or of course you can use the add item method in your program and add the items you need later. But maybe you already wanted to have items when it's loaded. So what would you do in previous versions? You would add items like item 1, and then you would separate them using an escape sequence here, which is that backslash and an N for new line. That's a convention to create a new line in other languages, and I've used it here too, and that's my cat. Later, baby. Okay, have a look. What I would do here is use backslash n to separate items. So item 1, item 2, then backslash, item 3, and when I hit enter, the list is filled with those items and it's going to be saved with the form. When the form is loaded, the list is already going to have those items filled. They're going to be there already. But what's new in InForm Beta 8 is that you can now import a list from another place. Imagine you already have this list typed somewhere else. Here I have my changelog, which is where I'm looking to talk to you, not to forget the items. If I copy a list from anywhere, it could be a text file, anything. This new button is going to show here, which is the new paste contents button. So if you hit that button, it's going to replace the contents of the text box. And when you hit enter, the list is already containing all the items you had pasted. So this is useful because it's, I don't know, if you are going to add too many items, it's just not practical to type each one, especially if you already have this list somewhere else. So with the new paste list into control button, you can just copy from somewhere else. InForm is going to detect that there is a list in memory, and it's going to offer that button, so you can just hit click it, and it's going to paste the contents into the new ListBox control. While we're here, we have a ListBox here, and I'm going to show you another new functionality of InForm Beta 8. There are some controls that have some similarities, both in functionality or in, I don't know, in the way they handle data. What we have in InForm Beta 8 now is the ability to convert between these types. For example, this is a ListBox control. ListBox controls and DropdownList box controls are basically the same control with a different appearance. A ListBox already shows all the items, and the DropdownList has you click the list first so that the items are going to show. Maybe you created the list, you formatted it the way you wanted it, you changed the properties, etc. And now this worked better. This would work better as a drop-down list. What do? In InForm Beta 8, you can just right-click it, and there is a new option here, Convert to Drop-Down List. When you click it, bam! Your program now has a new control, but the properties are the same of the previous one. So let's see here. I want to have item 1 pre-selected. There it is. The same contents of the previous control are here, and I can also do the other way around. I can turn a drop-down list into a regular list box. Convert to list box. There it is again. And this allows you to have more flexibility when you're creating, because of course you can change your mind when you're designing your form. It's your form. You decide what to do with it. The convert feature also works for similar controls like toggles. Because a toggle, oops, I grabbed both at the same time. A toggle is no control, a true-false control. Another control that is in nature very similar to this one is a checkbox. So I can right-click here and, okay, I want to convert this to a checkbox, and there it is. Of course, the name is to ToggleSwitch because InForm doesn't go, isn't that intrusive. You just asked it to convert the type, that's what it did. So you can now change other properties. You regret your decision, right-click, convert back to ToggleSwitch, and there you have it. Another new feature in Beta 8, and this is actually a fix if you consider it was a weird behavior in Beta 7. When I created this new interface for Beta 7, I had users have to hit enter to confirm changes to properties. And you guys asked for it, and I implemented it. You now don't have to do that anymore. If you have a control in your form and you start adding its properties, let's change the caption of this label, for example. This is a cool label. Up to Beta 7, you would have to hit enter to change that property. Now, if you change to a different field, you see the property has already been applied. You can also, I don't know, I'm changing this caption here to my cool button. And then I just select another control and the property is applied. So this is new in Beta 8. You don't have to hit enter to apply changes anymore. You still can hit enter, of course. If you change it and you hit enter, it's going to apply. And also if you do a change and you regret it, just hit ask and you have the previous value restored. Now this feature I'm going to show you is really exciting. It's a functionality that has existed in InForm, I don't know, since the first betas really. I've always had the back support for context menus. So much that InForm has already used context menus before, but in other interfaces, in other screens, and I've used them personally because in my programs, in my personal programs created using InForm, because I knew about it, but you guys probably didn't. So now you can create context menus very easily with InForm. The functionality has been improved too, and it's now easy to add context menus using the editor. I'm going to show you how it's done. Well, the traditional way to add a menu to a form is to go to the Insert menu and then hitting Menu Bar. Then you have a new menu there. Let me call it File. For all controls in InForm, if you use an ampersand symbol before a letter for the caption, you turn that letter, the following letter, into a hotkey. This is a standard in this type of programs too. In Visual Basic, you do it that way. So if I create a menu called File with an ampersand before the F is going to become the hotkey so that you can hit Alt F at runtime and it's going to be triggered. Okay, so if you create a new menu, you can create a new menu item with Insert, Menu Item, and that's the drill. That's how you used to do in previous versions of InForm too. Now you can create a context menu, and here's how you do it. Right-click on the form you want to add a context menu to, and then New Context Menu Control. That can also be done via Insert Context Menu. How does that work? You create a new context menu. It's going to show here, and then you add new items either by going to Insert Menu Item or by clicking the empty spot here on the menu panel. What happens is a context menu is an invisible control. It's only going to show when it's invoked, and it's invoked by right-clicking a control. How do you assign it to a control in your form? I'm going to create some empty picture boxes here just to show you how the whole dynamics work here. So here we have some empty picture boxes. Picture boxes can also be used as panels because you can change their background color, etc. So imagine I want to have this menu associated to these controls. What do? I select the control that's going to be assigned, that is going to have that context menu assigned to it, and then I just go here, context menu, and select the context menu. And select it. Now it worked. So you see that the context menu handle here, it's going to be highlighted when you have a control assigned to it selected. When other controls are selected, it's just white as usual, as it was when it was created. And you can also do it with multiple controls. I want to have that context menu assigned to all of these picture boxes. I go here, select it, and okay. All of the controls, all of the picture boxes now are associated to that context menu. So at runtime, when I run this program and right-click either or any of these picture boxes, this menu is going to show. Let me delete a few items here I don't need. Let's create a menu that says change color. Okay, and I have a menu bar here, a file menu, let's call it exit. Okay, so here we have a program with a file menu which has only an exit option. We also have a context menu with a change color option that's associated to all of these picture box controls. Let me center these vertically here. Okay, let me give this a name. Color changer. This is my color changer program. I'm going to save it. Color changer. And now we're going to QB64 to add code to that new program. So I have here all the picture boxes, my context menu and the context menu item we created, my file menu and the exit option. So I want my program to exit to system when file menu exit is clicked, and when let's see where it is. Oh yeah, context menu 1, change color. When this menu item is clicked, I want to change the color of that control that was selected. And how do we do that? I could handle each different picture box individually, but we have a new global variable which gives me the information of what was the control that was clicked that sent this information to InForm, to the context menu. Have a look. I'm going to make my control, and this control is, okay, I forgot the name of the variable, that's why there is a hard cut in this video. So the name of the variable that's going to be used here is UI context menu source ID. This is going to be in InForm's wiki soon, as soon as I update it, so don't worry about the long names. So what this variable contains is the ID of the control that was right-clicked to invoke this context menu. And with that, I don't have to worry if it was picture box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 that was right-clicked. What happens is, when I click the change color menu item, I'm going to change the back color of that control that was right-clicked to a random color. Let's make it, I don't know, random red, random green, random blue. Okay, so exit, blah, blah, blah. Let's run it. So here's my new program. There's a file menu. You can click exit to leave it. And you see there is no handle for the context menu here because, of course, it shouldn't be there. It's only there at design time, so you know that your form contains a context menu. And because I associated it to all of these picture box controls, when I right-click out of them, nothing happens. But when I right-click any of them, I'm going to have that context menu show. And when I click change color, it's going to change the color of the control I right-clicked, because that's what I programmed it to do. So the new functionality that Beta 8 brings is you can easily create a context menu, easily associate it to existing controls in your form, and easily respond to these menu items when they're clicked. And if you associate a context menu to multiple controls, you know which control was right-clicked by using the context menu source ID global variable that's now available with Beta 8. Menus exist in InForm since the very early versions of it, and now we have context menus to use, but even menus have been given some love too in this release. Now you can have sub-items to menus that you create with InForm. So the way you do that is by clicking an existing menu item and then a new panel is shown. If you want to create a sub-menu, you just click it. And then you have a new menu item that is a child of this menu item that already existed. So it's just that easy. You can now have sub-menus. And InForm's editor, the designer here, already uses that feature in the file menu because you now have a list of recently opened projects that you can easily open again by going here and just, oops, I deleted it. So InForm tells me that it's not there anymore, and now it's not in the list anymore too. So this is the new feature. You have submenus, and context menus can also have submenus. So let's add a submenu here. Instead of change color and then immediately change the color, I wanted to say change it to a shade of red, or change it to a shade of green, or change it to a shade of blue, or maybe have it random color. Okay, so my new program is going to have a context menu assigned to all of these picture boxes. And when it's right-clicked, they're going to have change color to a shade of green, shade of red, shade of green, shade of blue, or to a random color. I'm going to even add a divider here. When you have a menu items caption end with a dash, you create a divider. That makes it easy to organize your menus. Of course, this is just an example. It's not a practical usage because it doesn't make sense to have a submenu if you only have one main menu item. It would make sense if this menu had more options so that you would organize the sub options. But for the sake of showing you how it works, this one doesn't need to exist because There doesn't have to be a submenu to exit. So let's save it again. And this time InForm warns me that the previous files will be overwritten. Of course, I want to proceed, and then let's exit to Cubic 64. This notice here is for you to know that InForm attempted to preserve your previous program, but it only updates up to here. Whatever you had typed in your event procedures is not going to be touched, which means that the new controls you added here are not going to be in the case selection here, and that you have to do manually. But it would be really hard for me to know what changes you've made, because even these whole select case blocks are completely optional. You could have deleted them and I wouldn't know. So that's why InForm doesn't change them. But let's see the new options we have here. I created a context menu, change color sub options here, so that now the color is not going to be here. It's not going to be changed when you click this item anymore. It's going to be changed when you click this item here. And now let me copy this. 1, 2, 3. We are going to have a shade of color, shade of red control, a shade of green, and a shade of blue. So we have 3 new menu items. Each menu item is also a control, so we're going to react to them. So if my user clicks the change color, shade of red option, I'm going to make the box a shade of red. Or if he or she clicks a shade of green, or a shade of blue, or a random color. The rest remains unchanged. Let's save and run. Let's see how that looks now. Okay, here's my program, and we have the picture boxes as before, file, menu, exit if I want to leave. And if I right click my controls here now, my picture box controls, I have my context menu with a sub menu. It went to the left here now because it was too close to the edge. Here it would go as expected to the right. InForm already takes care of that for you. Okay, if I want to change this one to a shade of red, I got it. This one to a shade of green, I got it. This one to a shade of blue, I got it too. This one I want to have a random color. Surprise me. It's kind of reddish, pinkish. This one, let me make it now random too. Now I want this one to have a different shade of red. Let's have it a different shade of red again. Oh, that's black, but it's a very dark shade of red. You see, working as expected. So with the new feature of submenus, you can have menu options more organized in your programs too, and it's just that easy to create them. I am now here back into the editor, and I loaded my color changer program again to show you one more cool feature of InForm. You can now easily associate a key combination to a control, and that's very useful, especially for menu items. So say that I want to have the user hit Ctrl W to close my program. In previous versions of InForm, you could do that, but you would have to manually account for that in your, I don't know, in your key hit event or in your before update display event. But now you can just do it automatically here. There is a new keyboard combo property here, and this new click to assign button. When I click it, InForm is going to start monitoring the keyboard so that you can hit a combination of either control and a letter, or control and a number, or maybe control and a function key. You can also use shift with it, so it could be control shift and a letter, control shift and a number, or control shift and a function key. For now, you can't use backspace or other special keys. This is for later if I decide to do it. But imagine I have this menu item here and I want it to be triggered, if not just by clicking it, also by hitting Ctrl W. Let's try that. InForm is already monitoring. I hit Ctrl W on my keyboard and bam. It's automatically associated to that control, and it's already showing here too in my menu. And at runtime, if my user hits Ctrl W, it's going to trigger the same action that's already programmed for file menu exit option. And key combinations can also be used with virtually any type of control. Let's have here, for example, a label saying, I don't know, turn things off. No. Let's say, I don't know, show background. Anything. And I want it to have control A associated with it. Not the label, but this toggle control I'm adding right in front of it here. How do I do that? I just select my toggle control and click to assign and hit Control A. So when I save this, testing key combos, and compile it, there it goes. I can either activate this toggle switch by clicking it or by hitting Control A on my keyboard. See? No mouse, Control A, and then it works. Something you can now do with your forms created with InForm is to have a list box auto scroll. What does that mean? That means that if you have that property set and you keep adding items to this list box, it's going to automatically scroll to show the last one. This is useful to show, I don't know, an update log, for example. I've used it for InForm's installer. When you see installer go showing the new thing it's doing, like the new file it's downloading, and then the list scrolls up, that list has the auto scroll feature enabled. If you do that, you can also have it work the same way for your programs. Another thing that's new, and this is really cool, it's the first extension to InForm. This is an external module that can optionally be added to your programs, and it's a GIF player. A GIF player, you choose the pronunciation, but you know what I'm talking about. So, how does that work? You have here an include GIF, I'll go with GIF. Include GIF extension to your program, but you don't even have to go there. You don't even have to click it. When you add a picture box control and load a regular image, let's say I have here a qb64b.png. Here it is. It's a regular image. When your program is loaded, this image is going to show. It's useful to have a logo on your program or whatever you want to show. But if you create a picture box control and then you add a GIF, whatever you choose to call it, InForm is going to automatically detect that it's an animation and it's going to offer you to include the GIF extension. If you do so, when your program is saved, it's going to have this new module included, and you can use the new GIF playing feature of InForm. You can even have it autoplay. Picture boxes with GIF enabled files, with GIF loaded, they're going to have this new autoplay option here. When you hit it, it's going to play in your form, and when your form is loaded, it's also going to load it. Of course, well, why are you going to have a GIF in your form? I don't know, that's up to you. You are the designer of your own forms. But if you ever felt you could use an animation in your programs, this is how you are going to go about it now. You just add it to InForm, format it as you see fit, even have it autoplay, and bam, it works. This is a cool feature of Beta 8. If it's going to be useful for you, I don't know. It's optional, completely optional. It's only going to be added to your program if you want it to be added. If you don't, you can just uncheck this box here, which says include GIF extension. And then it's going to warn you, of course, that if you remove it, all the existing animations are going to be loaded as static frames. It still works. It's still going to load your GIFs files, but they're not going to animate. Maybe that's what you want, and there you have it. Another thing, no, I want to have them load and auto play. Okay, just for the sake of being fun. Now, picture boxes and other types of controls like labels and text boxes, they have the has border property, which you can enable or not. You can also change their color here, but this is old. Okay, this is nothing new for InForm. But what's new now is that you can set a different border size. The default size is 1, which is that thing, 1 pixel line, and you can have it any size between 1 and 10 now. Why? I don't know, that's up to you. It's an option I'm offering now, and if you want to have your controls have a thicker border, you can do that. Labels can have it too. Have a look here. Has border. When you enable the border for a control, then the size box is going to show up, and you do as you see fit. Let's make it a green border here now. Let's make it larger. Let's make it have another different font, maybe Times New Roman bold, italics. Okay, looks good. I'm not here to judge anyone. You want to have a cool border around it. Maybe you're going to use it for, I don't know, to highlight something, to show what control has focus. I do that with InForm Designer. You see that this border here is a bit thicker than usual and it's green. And when I have an invalid dimension, for example, let's say my form is going to have a -39 width. That's of course not valid. Then you see that very quickly flashed red to show that it was invalid, and then adjusted to a valid dimension here. So I used it. It's not, oh, I use it here too, but here it's just size 1. But anyway, you can do it now. You can have different thickness of borders, and you can have animated GIFs or GIFs in your programs. Other than that, Beta 8 brings a lot of internal improvements. A few things have been fixed. A few bugs have been fixed that you guys reported. And there's some new functionality internally too. I'm going to add all that to the wiki soon. Check the changelog and check our blog post at InForm at qb64.org/inform. Thank you very much for using it, for your interest, and thank you very much for your interest in QB64 as well. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.